Okay, so a couple of you have asked me what I mean by identifying the various appeals. So if I'm looking at this, this is the, sorry, you're going to see this mouse go around a lot. This is that "Should Batman Kill the Joker" article, right? Okay, so if I'm thinking about Kairos, right, let's see if I can make some comments. Okay, um, The Dark Knight came out. I'm just going to make some annotations first, and then hopefully I can help explain it. Okay, so The Dark Knight came out around, well, actually, July 18th of 2008, right? So if I'm just initially making notes in the text for myself before I write down the answers to the reading exercise, I might make a note and just say, Kairos, article is published in the New York Times. That's my abbreviation for New York Times. Uh, a week after The Dark Knight is released. Oh, I always want to spell night like day versus night, not night as in the night you fight or the night who fights. Okay. So I'll just make a note of that for now. All right. And then if I'm looking for ethos, there's a couple things I can look at. So one of my students in another class um, mentioned that they thought the very fact that it's published in the New York Times, so I'm just going to underline that in green so I can differentiate it. But the fact that it's published in the New York Times gives the person a little bit of ethos. Having issues. Oh, my computer has been giving me such a hard time all day. I'm going to have to leave it alone. It may not allow me to make this note. Oh, good. Okay. So I might make a note that just says ethos, right? Um, Publishing in the New York Times makes a person seem more credible. Okay? Because I know that about him. Now, the other thing is if you go to the end, there were a couple of things that I noticed about the article. All right, so when I first read this part, I don't know, I kind of felt like the author was maybe trying to justify talking about it. So I questioned the ethos because it seemed like the authors were putting in a disclaimer. Right? Particularly, so let me see if I can move this. You tell I don't do this very often. There's nowhere to put it. I'll just put it there. Maybe. Okay. So if you look here, it says, if translating the core issue to another venue, such as Batman and Joker, helps us focus on the key aspects of the problem, that can only help refine our thinking, and Batman would definitely approve of that. Oh, well, that to me, I don't know. I felt like he was justifying it. But if you go even further, he says, the point is making philosophy accessible and helping us think through difficult topics by casting them in a different light. And he's talking about how he says applying philosophy, apparently I'm working backwards here, but applying philosophy to Batman, South Park or other pop culture phenomena may seem silly or frivolous, right? And I'm sure he's trying to put in a counter argument here, because he knows that some people are going to say that. But to me, I thought, you know what? You want to compare, you want to do philosophy through Batman, that's fine. So to me, it made me question his credibility, both authors' credibility. However, if you go down here, right, then I'll draw an arrow, hopefully. This made me trust them more because at least, because one's a professor, one author, Oh, I'm having typing issues. And they've written a book on it, which, I mean, isn't always something to lend credibility, because that person can be published anywhere. But in this case, I thought, okay, this person's attached to some type of institution. And if they've written a book at it, they've at least thought extensively about it. Okay, so those two things wouldn't be an example of ethos. So what I might do is I would pull these passages out and I would highlight that they deal with ethos. Okay, so let's look at pathos. So one thing I noticed, well, in the article, there tended to be statements like you would say, okay, here's utilitarianism, right? And then what would follow would be some type of point of relationship to the film. And depending on your opinion, you may or may not think this is pathos, but to me, I felt like anytime the film was being referenced, so like here, if you say, while it may be preferable for the Joker to be dead, it may not be morally right for any person such as Batman to kill him. If the Joker is to be punished, blah, 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 right? So in my mind, when I saw that, I'll underline it, I felt like that was an example of pathos in the sense that the authors were appealing to my fondness for the story, right? So it's a different type of pathos in the sense that it's not like you see people starving and you're like, oh, I feel so bad. It's more just oh, this touches me because it reminds me of something I knew when I was younger. Okay. Now, another thing that somebody pointed out, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I hadn't really thought about it. I love it when students come up with things that I don't think about. Was a student pointed out that the use of dialogue here, the fact that the person referenced a part of the film to them was an example of logos, right? Because referencing the film is using evidence, like specific evidence, which seems more factual, right? Okay, so this is just a brief idea of how to identify different parts of an article and identify them as ethos, pathos, logos, or kairos.